where they belong.
Gabe Gutierrez at the White House, my friend, thank you very much. Of course, we're going to be monitoring this when the president does come out to pardon these 40 and 41-year-old lovely birds. We will, of course, go live to that. Gabe, thanks. Turning now to the incoming administration, with just 56 days until Inauguration Day, President-elect Trump has now named his picks for all 15 heads of his cabinet. 10 of those announcements were made just this past Friday and Saturday. His latest picks include Secretaries of the Treasury, Agriculture, Labor, Housing, and Urban Development. Joining us now, NBC's Vaughn Hilliard, Michael Steele, former RNC chairman and co-host of The Weekend right here on MSNBC, and Victoria de Francesco Soto, dean of the Clinton School of Public Service at the University of Arkansas and an MSNBC contributor. So, Vaughn, what are we learning about Mr. Trump's new additions and this flurry over the weekend?
A lot, Jose, and I think we're going to be learning a lot more about them over the next 2 months before these confirmation proceedings take place. Look, Donald Trump, late Friday night, as you outlined, released a whole litany of these picks here to oversee the FDA, the CDC, of course, Scott Bessent, his Treasury Secretary nominee, after several weeks of deliberation on who he'd turn to on that front. You also have a pro-union former Republican Congresswoman taking over the Labor Secretary position. Interesting. She could very well receive the support of many Democratic senators. You also have Russell Vought, his one-time OMB director from his first administration, who he has tapped to come back in that capacity here for the second go-around. Notably, Russ Vought was one of the leading co-authors of Project 2025 and has outlined the ways in which departments and agencies under the executive branch in 2025 can work more efficiently. You can also see Dave Weldon, the former Republican congressman there, who is actually a teammate, you could say, of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. back in the early 2000s. RFK, when he wrote a long magazine piece back in 2005, touted the work of Dave Weldon, and particularly around the idea that there's a preservative in many vaccines that is linked to autism, which science does not bear out that as being factual, yet Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is getting an ally to take on the CDC role. You also have the likes of Marty McCary, who's going to be leading the FDA as the nominee to be the FDA director. This is another potential ally to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Sebastian Gorka, who has been very much of a right-wing provocateur on right-wing media the last 8 years, is somebody who's been welcomed back into this administration after serving in 2017 as a Steve Bannon ally for several months. But you're seeing this cabinet be rounded out here. It is a very white cabinet and one that is full of Donald Trump allies. Brooke Rollins was one of those Friday night picks as well. She led an outside organization back in the aftermath of the first Trump administration, America First Policy Institute, and she, for her work, has been tapped to lead the agricultural department. So Donald Trump, his cabinet this go around, it's full of loyalists. Whether they have more staying power, that's what we'll all have to wait to see.
And Vaughn and friends, I'm just going to interrupt you real briefly. We're going to go back to the White House because there's the president. Let's listen in.
Members of my cabinet, members of the White House staff and their families. We got students from 4-H programs and Future Farmers America. Where are you? And of course, a special thanks to everyone at the National Turkey Federation. Leslie Olden, president of the Federation. Leslie, where are you? There you are. And John Zimmerman, chairman of the Federation, and his family from Northfield, Minnesota. John. I was in Northfield last year with my Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, and our great friend, the Minnesota Governor, Tim Walz, talking about our historic investment in transforming rural America. Back in Minnesota, John's been in the turkey grower for 35 years. He's raised over 4 million turkeys. Whoa. And with the help of his 9-year-old son, Grant, they've raised 2 special guests we're honoring today, Peach and Blossom. Let's bring Peach up to join us. Hey, tell me, Peach weighs about 42 pounds? What did you say, Peach? Peach is making a last-minute plea here. The two turkeys are named after a Delaware state flower, the peach blossom. And by the way, Delaware has a long history of growing peaches. In fact, the peach pie in our state is one of my favorites. It's a state dessert. And peach blossom flower is also symbolizes resilience, which is quite frankly fitting for today. This White House tradition began when turkey was presented to President Truman. And that president, then President George H.W. Bush, began pardoning turkeys. In the last 4 years, I've had the honor to continue that tradition by pardoning peanut butter and jelly, chocolate and chip, Liberty and Bell, and today, Peach and Blossom will join the free birds of the United States of America. Born this past July at the Zimmerman family farm, raised by the, yeah, I hear you. Peach wants to speak a little bit here. Raised by the family with the help of neighborhood children who helped the turkey get ready for this very moment. According to experts, Peach weighs 41 pounds and loves to eat hot dish and tater tots and cross-country skis. You know, dreams to see, but the real dream he has is to see the Northern Lights, I'm told. He lives by the motto, keep calm and gobble on. Meanwhile, Blossom weighs 40 pounds, loves to eat cheese curds and watch boxing, dreams of to visit each one of Minnesota's 10,000 lakes, lives by the motto, no foul play, just Minnesota nice. They just finished a 2-day road trip from Minnesota to Washington. By the way, you have chairs? Sit down. I forgot you had chairs. I'm sorry. Started thinking about the arduous trip they made. You guys are still standing. That trip's 1,100 miles. It takes 16.5 hours. Through it all, they stayed calm. They gobbled on and still gobbling. They stayed nice listening to their favorite music, which apparently includes the song "Living on a Prayer." Well, fellas, your prayer's going to be answered today. Based on your temperament and commitment to being productive members of society, I hereby pardon Peach and Blossom. They'll now head back to Farm America, Minnesota Center for Agriculture and Interpretation to serve as educational ambassadors of America's top turkey growing state and inspire the next generation of agricultural students. Congratulations. Let me close on a more serious note. This event marks the official start of the holiday season here in Washington. It's also my last time to speak here as your president during this season and give thanks and gratitude. So let me say to you, it's been the honor of my life. I'm forever grateful. Later today, my wife Jill and I will travel to Staten Island, New York for a Friendsgiving with members of the Coast Guard and their families to demonstrate our gratitude for their service and sacrifice like my son. We also keep in our hearts those who have lost so much, who will have an empty seat at the Thanksgiving dinner table tonight, or excuse me, Thursday night. May we use this moment, take time from our busy lives, and focus on what matters most, our families. My dad used to have an expression, that family's the beginning, the middle, and the end. Our friends and our neighbors. And the fact that we're blessed to live in America, the greatest country on earth, and that's not hyperbole, we are. No matter what, in America we never give up. We keep going. We keep the faith. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So happy Thanksgiving, America. God bless you all. and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
So now is when I guess he has to, like, essentially, formally, save the birds. And let's this is the moment, I guess. This is like, well, let's stay with it, I guess, to see if is that. I don't think there's like anything else to this, right? What do you guys think? I think this is it. So they're essentially pardoned. This is just great. And I want to bring in Vaughn and Michael and Victoria Francesco Soto as I could. Let's stay with this because, Michael, this is such a uniquely American thing. Yeah. not only is Thanksgiving uniquely American, right? But then the President of the United States of America pardoning two birds, at the beginning of the week of Thanksgiving. It's such a uniquely American phenomenon. I mean, how the rest of the world just looks at this and says, that's the United States of America. Only they can do that.
And they still want to come here to be a part of it. And that, yes, it's a crazy, wacky tradition that actually is not that old, as the president noted, and as you noted earlier. I mean, it's interesting that, in fact, Ben Franklin had such an affinity for the turkey, he offered the turkey instead of the bald eagle as our national bird. And until someone pointed out to him, well, when it rains, they drown themselves by looking up at the rain. But it's kind of a quirky thing, and it really speaks to the still kind of quirky nature of the American experience.
I agree, and we're going to get into the whole reality of the American experience of what we can expect going forward after the 20th of January. But just to wrap it up, and Victoria, it's the fact that Thanksgiving is a North American, it's an American tradition, which is such a beautiful tradition that many people throughout the world have actually also assumed in different ways. The Día de Acción de Gracias has become such an American thing. It's unique and it's really beautiful. It really is.
And I think, Jose, especially in times like these, where we have been seeing our nation divided, we see hyperpolarization. Thanksgiving is one of those moments when you come together, right? The conversation at the Thanksgiving table may be extremely heated at times, but at the end of the day, you're coming together. And I think it's these spaces that we recognize of our common humanity, that we're coming together to discuss, to see each other as who we are, which I think is so important. It's such a beautiful thing about our American tradition.
Yeah, and, Michael, talking about now the post-Thanksgiving, but over the weekend, and Vaughn was talking about this flurry of choices that President-elect Trump, had over the weekend. The New York Times describes Trump's cabinet as many ideologies